Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Friday, October 2nd, 2020, and yes, you read that title correctly. In the battleground states of Michigan and Wisconsin, Joe Biden has a larger lead than Donald Trump leads in two previously safe Republican states, South Carolina and Alaska. Let's take a look at what that would actually look like, and let's take a look at those states very closely. So, on the national 538 forecast, Joe Biden has a 79% chance at winning the presidency. If we take a look at some of these battleground states, you can see why he's actually at a pretty strong position in some of these battleground states. In the state of Wisconsin, Joe Biden is expected to get 52.5% of the forecasted vote share. In South Carolina, Trump is expected to get 53%. So why am I saying that Trump is closer in South Carolina and Alaska than Biden is in Wisconsin and Michigan? Is mainly because of the fact that the data is indicating that the races are closer in these two battleground states. Alaska, Trump is only expected to carry it by roughly 6-7%. In Michigan, Biden is expected to carry this state by roughly the same amount. As we take a look at Wisconsin, however, it is a tad closer, but taking a look at the overall averages, Biden is only down 4 points in Alaska. 4 points. Throughout the entire campaign season, Trump never really led by that large of a margin. Now, Alaska has never been on the radar for Democrats. It's been very safe and solid for the GOP for the past couple of decades, and now, in this election, it's shaping up to be closer than expected. South Carolina is another state. While Trump is up by 4.3% in Alaska, he's up by a higher margin in South Carolina by 5.6%. We've seen South Carolina recently narrow up following Jamie Harrison and Lindsey Graham being neck and neck, and I mean statistically and actually tied in terms of the Senate race up there, or down there in comparison to me. But South Carolina, a 5.9% margin of victory for Donald Trump based off the polling data. And it actually reflects what we actually see on the average. Trump is at 53.4%, Biden is at 45.8%. That's what, 7-8% of a lead for Donald Trump. It's not exactly deafening. I mean, this is a 14-point victory for him just 4 years ago. Another 14-point victory in Alaska 4 years ago. So realistically, I mean, these states were Trump states, very solid Trump states, double-digit wins that are now down to single digits. And it's not just that. Like I said, let's take a look at the data that shows Biden ahead by a larger margin in Wisconsin and Michigan. So, Wisconsin, the first state, Biden is up by 6.4%. In Michigan, the neighboring state, another battleground state from 2016, Biden is up by 6.7%. 7% if you round up. So the fact that Biden is doing better in these two battleground states is really indicative of what we see nationwide. Looking at the electoral map, and I promise this is the last time that I'm going to be using this pumpkin thing for a little bit just because I do want to return to what we normally see. I'm just doing this in the spirit of the first couple of days of Halloween month. But moving past that, when we look at these battleground states, Alaska and South Carolina were never really on the radar for Democrats. Obviously, the Rust Belt was. I'm actually going to get rid of it just for right now, just because I do want to see a standard background. But we've always been talking about Michigan and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, these three battleground states. And while there were certain Trump states that I've always talked about as swing states, Arizona, Texas, Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, Iowa, even Georgia, it never really popped up into anyone's minds that, hey, South Carolina could be competitive. Hey, Alaska could be competitive this election cycle. So this is the Electoral College ratings immediately following the 2018 midterm elections. I don't think these are super surprising to many people. Traditional swing states are in the lean Democrat and Republican column, and then the toss-up states. I mean, it's not surprising to see the Rust Belt considered to be toss-up, with Florida and Arizona as toss-up states as well. But in the lean Republican column, there was Georgia, there was Iowa, Maine, and Nebraska's 2nd District, and North Carolina. And in the likely Republican column, it was Ohio, it was Texas. And then in the solid Republican column, it was 125 total electoral votes. But here's Alaska. Here's South Carolina, and now let's take a look at the rating from March 2020. This is the pre-COVID 2020 Electoral College ratings. And even then, Alaska, safe. South Carolina, safe. Does a 4-point lead seem safe to you anymore? Does a 6-point lead seem safe to you anymore? I mean, the pre-COVID numbers have Biden doing well, but now Biden's at 290 electoral votes according to the Cook Political Report. 290 electoral votes. That's very solid. He should be very happy with those numbers. And if we're looking at, the 2018 numbers versus now, versus pre-COVID, nothing really changed. It was COVID-19 and the fact, obviously, all of the issues that came with it, with the economy, and a number of other things that have impacted the race over the past couple of months that have shifted these two states from being safe Republican states. Nobody thought that they would be even remotely competitive, that are now competitive. When we take a look at the percent chance of victory here, in the state of Alaska, Donald Trump has a 79% chance at winning Alaska. Let's take a look at Wisconsin. Joe Biden has an 81% chance at Wisconsin, which means Joe Biden has a better chance of winning Wisconsin than Trump does at winning Alaska. Let's take a look at Michigan. This is another battleground state. Well, in Michigan, it gets worse. 88% of a chance for Donald Trump to lose the state of Michigan. Joe Biden only has, let's take a look at South Carolina. In terms of this state's chances, Donald Trump has a worse chance at winning South Carolina than Biden does at winning the state of Michigan. Michigan's an 88% chance for Biden. South Carolina is an 87% chance. And obviously 87% is nothing bad. I mean, that's a strong number if we were talking about a swing state, because now South Carolina has turned into a swing state, but we're not. We're talking about a solid Republican state, a state that has moved over from being safe down to lean, possibly even likely. And the fact that it's even remotely competitive, and the fact that Biden has a 1 in 10 chance of winning this solid, and I mean solid Republican state, is fascinating. And the fact Alaska, a state that yielded Vice President Joe Biden's opposition candidate in 2008, Sarah Palin, now gives him a 1 in 5 chance of victory in this state. A 21% chance for a Democrat presidential candidate in Alaska. Looking at the chance of winning over time, it actually has stayed pretty static. The popular vote hasn't really fluctuated too much in the state of South Carolina. Let's take a look at that as well. Not much really has changed in terms of the chances or the popular vote. But now, the reason why I have this title of the video is because, yes, Biden had a strong chance at winning in some of these battleground states before, but never was it to a point where Wisconsin and Michigan were polling to the left of South Carolina and Alaska. I mean, these two states aren't exactly too pressing Electoral College wise. I don't think the Trump campaign would be, obviously, I mean, it would suggest national implications, but let's say Alaska did end up going blue this election cycle, it wouldn't cripple the Trump campaign. I mean, the Biden campaign already started off with an advantage with Hillary Clinton's states from 2016. On top of that, however, if Alaska and South Carolina were to move over, there are only 12 electoral votes in total. They're not going to make or break the election. Donald Trump could technically still win if he ran through the Rust Belt, winning every single state he won in 2016, except for those states. Well, that puts him at 293. And I believe I am missing Maine 2nd District, and then I might be missing another region in the country. But South Carolina and Alaska together, they put Biden at 244. It's only marginally better than where Hillary Clinton was in 2016 based off what he could actually perform. So Biden would be at 244, but obviously there wouldn't be a scenario where the Rust Belt went red and Alaska and South Carolina went blue, but electoral-wise, they're not too consequential. The Trump campaign would really not want to lose them, however, because they will need every electoral vote possible as the race stands today. But on top of that, South Carolina and Alaska are two states that the GOP never thought they would ever have to spend money on, and now they're spending $10 million in opposition ads against the Democrat in the state of South Carolina. They're spending money in Alaska in the Senate race there, and now the presidential race is competitive on both states. This election is shaping up to be probably one of the more competitive statewide, because now Arkansas is considered likely by 538, Louisiana is considered likely, Missouri is considered likely, Indiana is considered likely. All of these states are starting to end up pushing further in favor of in favor of Joe Biden, which is just a really bad sign for Donald Trump as we get through these next couple of weeks. And obviously, since he has been diagnosed with COVID-19, he probably won't be campaigning for the next 14 days. The Biden campaign has announced that they are not pushing forth negative attack ads, but they will still be running positive attack ads. It doesn't really make sense to halt an election. I've seen some people speculate that that's absolutely not happening. We're not going to see the Biden campaign stop campaigning for 14 days out of respect for President Trump. That's just not how politics goes anymore, and I don't even think it ever did go like that. That would never have been something that flew. But I think what we've seen from the right wing is that they are a little afraid of what COVID-19 might impact on the president, not in terms of his health. He is more than likely to recover completely. But the problem is whether or not he can turn around this election, given the fact that half of his time has just been signed away. Whether that's through quarantining or that's through a canceled debate, or that's through canceled rallies, a lot of his time that he was expecting to spend over the next couple of weeks, the final 32 days of the election cycle, have now been taken away from him. So Biden still remains the favorite to win the election. Looking in these battleground states, South Carolina, Alaska, Wisconsin, and Michigan, Biden leads by a larger margin in Wisconsin and Michigan than Donald Trump does in both South Carolina and Alaska. Major takeaway is that a number of Republican states that were previously very solid for the GOP have now moved over into the likely, sometimes even lean Republican column, whereas states that Donald Trump carried 4 years ago have been moving further and further in favor of Joe Biden, to a point where safe states from the last time Biden was on the ballot are now competitive, and swing states from the last time Biden was on the ballot are now even more solid for the Democratic Party. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord link for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my 2020 election videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Please consider joining as a member on my channel, and I will see you all tomorrow.